Hello children, welcome to your online class of SST. Today we will discuss chapter 10th of History, New Empires and Kingdoms. Arvind had been chosen to act as a king in the school play. He was supposed to be acting as Samudragupta, a famous ruler of a dynasty known as the Guptas. We know about Samudragupta from a long inscription inscribed on the Ashokan pillar at Allahabad. It was composed as a kavya by Harisena, who was a poet and a minister at the court of Samudragupta. This inscription is of a special kind known as a prasasti, a Sanskrit word meaning in praise of. While prasastis were composed for some of the rulers you read about in the previous chapter, look at this map. You will notice an area shaded in green. You will also find a series of red dots along the east coast, and you will find areas marked in purple and blue as well. This map is based on the information provided in the prasasti. Harisena describes 4 different kinds of rulers and tells us about Samudragupta's policies towards them. First, the rulers of Aryabharta, the area shaded in green on the map. Here there were 9 rulers who were uprooted, and their kingdoms were made a part of Samudragupta's empire. Second, the rulers of Dakshinapatha. Here there were 12 rulers, some of whose capitals are marked with red dots on the map. They surrendered to Samudragupta after being defeated, and he then allowed them to rule again. Third, the inner circle of neighboring states, including Assam, coastal Bengal, Nepal, and a number of Ghana Sanghas. In the northwest, marked in purple on the map, they brought tribute, followed his orders, and attended his court. And the fourth one, the rulers of the outlying areas, marked in blue on the map, perhaps the descendants of the Kushanas and Shakas, and the ruler of Sri Lanka, who submitted to him and offered daughters in marriage. Most prasastis also mention the ancestors of the ruler. This one mentions Samudragupta's great-grandfather, grandfather, father and mother. His mother, Kumara Devi, belonged to the Lichavi Gana, while his father, Chandragupta, was the first ruler of the Gupta dynasty to adopt the grand title of Maharaj Adhiraj. Samudragupta in turn figures in the genealogies of later rulers of the dynasty, such as his son Chandragupta II. We know about him from inscriptions and coins. According to the later belief, his court was full of learned people, including Kalidas, the poet, and Aryabharta, the astronomer. While we can learn about the Gupta rulers from their inscriptions and coins, we can find out about some kings from biographies. Harshvardhan, who ruled nearly 1400 years ago, was one such ruler. His court poet Banabhatta wrote his biography the Harshcharita in Sanskrit. Harsha was not the eldest son of his father, but became king of Thaneshwar after both his father and elder brother died. Harsha took over the kingdom of Kannauj and then led an army against the ruler of Bengal. Although he was successful in the east and conquered both Magda and Bengal, he was not as successful elsewhere. The Palwaj and Chalukyas were the most important ruling dynasties in South India during this period. The kingdom of the Palwaj spread from the region around their capital Kanchipuram to the Kaveri Delta, while that of the Chalukyas was centered around the Raichur Doab between the rivers Krishna and Tungbhadra. Aihole, the capital of the Chalukyas, was an important trading center. It developed as a religious center with a number of temples. The best known Chalukya ruler was Pulkeshin II. We know about him from a prasasti composed by his court poet Ravikirti. According to Ravikirti, he led expeditions along both the west and the east coasts. Besides, he checked the advance of Harsha. But the Chalukya victory was short-lived. Ultimately, both the Palwaj and the Chalukyas gave way to new rulers belonging to the Rashtrakuta and Chola dynasties. As in the case of earlier kings, land revenue remained important for these rulers, and the village remained the basic unit of administration. There were some new developments as well. Kings adopted a number of steps to win the support of men who were powerful, either economically or socially, or because of their political and military strength. Like earlier rulers, some of these kings maintained a well-organized army. Besides, there were military leaders who provided the king with troops whenever he needed them. They were not paid regular salaries. They collected revenue from the land and used this to maintain soldiers and horses and provide equipment for warfare. The inscriptions of the Palwaj mention a number of local assemblies. These included the Sabha, which was an assembly of Brahman landowners. This assembly functioned through subcommittees which looked after irrigation, agricultural operations, making roads, etc. The Ur was a village assembly found in areas where the landowners were not Brahmins, and the Nagaram was an organization of merchants. It is likely that these assemblies were controlled by rich and powerful landowners and merchants. Many of these local assemblies continued to function for centuries. We can catch an occasional glimpse of the lives of ordinary people from plays and other accounts. Kalidasa is known for his plays depicting life in the king's court. An interesting feature about these plays is that the king and most Brahmins were shown as speaking Sanskrit, while women and men other than the king and Brahmins used Prakrit. His most famous play, Abhijana Shakuntalam, is the story of the love between a king named Dushyant and a young woman named Shakuntala. Thank you, children. This lesson has been completed. Bye bye. Take care.